Happy Sunday, gang. You know what that means. It's time for another true crime story with me, Yinka Bokinni. And this week marked the anniversary of one of the most famous criminal couples in the world. Actually, scrap that. The most famous criminal couple in the world. Books, movies, songs. Yes, friends. Today, I want to talk to you about Bonnie and Clyde. Look for me. Shwa na na na, shwa na na na, shwa 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 shwa. So this week, the first week of April, in 1934, Bonnie and Clyde actually killed 2 police officers in the United States of America. Now, these are 2 people whose names are so famous, but a lot of us don't actually know the whole true story behind them. I know that I didn't know it before I started researching. All I knew was that Bonnie and Clyde were a couple of badasses and they robbed some banks, potentially killed some people. What I actually found out was that they were definitely badasses. They definitely robbed banks and they definitely killed people. But the story is interesting nonetheless. This all happened a lot longer ago than I thought it did. The particular incident that sparked me talking about this was 86 years ago. Why did I think Bonnie and Clyde were in the 60s? I was wrong, dead wrong. Bonnie and Clyde met in 1930 and it was love at first sight. Bonnie, she was 20 years old, and when she met Clyde, it was at a mutual friend's house. The friend had broken her arm, Bonnie was looking after her, Clyde came over to say hello, and Bob's your uncle. It was all over. Clyde already had a criminal past. I listened to a podcast called Stuff You Missed in History Class, and they were saying after a few months of him actually meeting Bonnie, she helped him break out of jail. She smuggled a gun into the prison, all kinds of ghetto romantic. He ended up going on the run, and then he got caught and sent to prison in Texas. In February of 1932, Clyde was released. Now, they went to like a dance, a shubs, a rave, you know, those things that we all used to enjoy on the weekends, with some members of his gang. It's the 30s, he's in a gang, it's a thing. So while there, Clyde is literally drinking and driving, one hand on the wheel, the other around the neck of a bottle. And this is where him and Bonnie, their crime spree begins and would last for the next 2 years. So after being caught drinking and driving at the same damn time, Clyde shoots and kills a police officer. Well, he shoots 2 police officers, he kills one, and then him and Bonnie, they take off. They flee. A member of the gang snitched on them because every chain has a weak link. That's when Bonnie and Clyde officially go on the run. After the shooting at the dance, they drove to Bonnie's aunt's house in New Mexico. But these 2 weren't even trying to lay low, you know. They were stopped for speeding in a stolen car. The officer pulled them over and then they kidnapped the police officer. This was something they actually like to do. Kidnap a cop, throw him out the car for a few hours, just a little joyride, a little company, you know, get somebody else in, somebody new. They got bored of seeing each other's faces, so they're like, oh yeah, let's just kidnap a cop. While Bonnie and Clyde are, of course, infamous for robbing banks and gas stations and restaurants and stuff like that, they weren't particularly good at it. They hardly ever left with more than a few dollars, and sometimes they would rob somewhere and not actually get anything. And of course, they got caught rather catastrophically, putting it very nicely. I think that it's just the idea, the romantic kind of a ride or die that makes Bonnie and Clyde so special, not their particular set of skills at criminal escapades. If you've seen the film Queen and Slim, you will know the power of an iconic photo as well. And the picture, the one I'm talking about, the cover, the poster of Queen and Slim is definitely a nod to the OGs, to the dogs, Bonnie and Clyde, because Bonnie loved to take pictures. They used to rob a lot of cars, exclusively Fords, and when these cars were found abandoned on the road, there would often be reams and reams and reels of film because Bonnie just loved a picture. The couple documented their lives on the run, and these pictures are actually iconic. Like, I'll post one and a few. I'll put like the link in the description and stuff. Bonnie was ahead of her time when it came to documenting her life in selfies, and there's this really cool picture of her pretending to shoot Clyde, and there are some of them on the side of the road with their lips in and stuff. It's great. Like, I get it. I think it's safe to say that these pictures are what made the couple so famous. Bonnie was only thought to have been between 4'11" and 5 foot, which is very tiny, but she looked super glamorous. She wore a lot of makeup in a time where women didn't really wear that much makeup. She smoked cigars, she held guns. Instagram gold, if you ask me. If it was 2020, she would be the Tory Lanez and we would all be lining up to twerk on her IG live. One of the oddly wholesome things about this couple, one of the things that I thought was really nice, was that A, they gave a lot of the money, even though it was small, back to their families who were struggling. B, is that throughout their spree of killing and robbing and kidnapping, they would go back to visit their families in between. Now this is some real rock star stuff as well, because imagine you go on tour for a couple of weeks, then you go back home and see your mum and then just take off on the road again, but like their tour was murder. So things started going wrong for the pair when they got a dude called W.D. Jones. There was a particular incident. They abandoned a car that they had stolen and they accidentally left one crucial identifying piece of evidence in the car. It was a prescription bottle belonging to Clyde's aunt, and that was all the FBI needed to identify their two suspects, and that's when Bonnie and Clyde became wanted fugitives, top 10 most wanted, can't be seen on the outside because people are gonna come and get the bounty. In 1932, the police tried to ambush them in Dallas, but it didn't work. Police officers were killed. They actually ended up robbing an armory after this, and they stocked up on ammo and a whole bunch of weapons like rifles. And then in Missouri, they killed another policeman as well, so yikes. In 1933, Clyde's brother and his wife joined the gang, which is lovely. Did somebody say double date? They all move in together with the tag-along, W.D. Jones. This doesn't really work out though, because they are so suspicious that they are put under surveillance by the police immediately. To be honest, 2 killing couples and a random dude, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that yard. There's loads of rolls of film as well from their time living there. It looks great. And I honestly, the Instagram awareness that Bonnie had, the Facebook documenting of her life, it really helps put this whole thing together. The arrangement doesn't last too long. And after yet another gun battle and another stolen car and another kidnapped police officer, let's just say that things take a turn for the worse. So later on in 1933, in the summer of 1933, disaster struck when Bonnie was severely injured in a car crash. She was pinned underneath a car and battery acid poured onto her leg, and it actually burned down to the bone in some parts. She needed medical attention, but of course, as a wanted criminal on the run, that just wasn't an option. She was an outlaw, and the injury plagued her for the rest of her life and through the rest of their escapades. It made it very easy to spot them after Bonnie got this injury. Imagine if you work in Boots and a dude pops in. He kind of looks like Clyde, but you're not sure. And then he wants to buy out the whole stock of pseudo cream. My G, that's Clyde. We're gonna skip through a little bit of time now. The 5-7, they moved into like a tourist campsite thing. They were spotted. It was reported to the police. There was another gunfight. These guys love a gunfight. Pew, 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 pew. Clyde's brother and his wife, they were severely wounded. They're out of the game. Bonnie, Clyde, W.D. Jones, the random gang member, they're all shot. Bonnie and Clyde, they leave without anybody else. The 5-some has become a 2-some. They've left the gang life behind and they're all alone. For a little while, the couple went back to their emancipating prisoners from prison thing and their Robin Hood style robberies, but the jig had to be up eventually, which brings us to 86 years ago this week. Bonnie and Clyde, they killed 2 highway patrolmen. Well, okay, I say Bonnie and Clyde killed them, but Bonnie, although definitely a supporter of Clyde's antics and 100% an accessory to these crimes, at the time of her death, sorry, spoiler alert, they didn't get out of this alive. There were no outstanding warrants for murder. In fact, it has never been proven. There has never been any reliable evidence that she ever shot anyone, even though 100% she was down. Altogether, Bonnie and Clyde killed 13 people during their 2-year spree. They robbed an untold amount of small businesses, and they were eventually killed in a gun battle on the 23rd of May 1934. They were shot to death in a police ambush. There are so many pictures of this, and when I first saw the pictures, I thought, that can't be the crime scene, because it's about 1,000 people trying to get all up in the car. But it is. The story is so layered, and when I tell you so much happens, but I tried to tell you as much as I could about 2 icons in 10 minutes. I found out so much about Bonnie, about Clyde, about W.D. Jones, the random dude who lived with them during my research. And if you fancy finding out why Clyde got 2 toes cut off in prison, who Bonnie's actual husband was, or about the people who tried to cut off body parts of the 2 at the site of their death to sell them as souvenirs, have a look listen and read of all of the links that I'll put in the description box. And I'll see you next time, being next Sunday, for another anniversary.